You trusted them. You opened up. You shared your fears, your dreams, your weaknesses. And now somehow you feel smaller, confused, like you're always walking on eggshells around them. You can't quite put your finger on it, but something feels wrong. Maybe it's your partner who somehow always wins every argument, even when they're clearly wrong. Maybe it's that coworker who never raises their voice, but somehow controls every meeting. Maybe it's that friend who makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. Or maybe it's that classmate who seems to know exactly what to say to make you doubt yourself. You're not imagining it. You're not being too sensitive. You're not overthinking. You're dealing with someone who uses dark intelligence. This isn't the kind of intelligence they measure in schools. This isn't about grades, degrees, or how many books someone has read. This is about the calculated use of psychological tactics to control, influence, and manipulate others. And the scariest part, most people don't even realize it's happening to them. These individuals move through life like chess masters playing against people who don't even know they're in a game. They study your reactions, catalog your weaknesses, and use your own emotions against you. They're not necessarily evil people, but they've learned to see relationships as power structures and other people as tools to achieve their goals. But here's what they don't want you to know. Once you understand their tactics, they lose their power over you. Once you develop your own cold intelligence, the ability to think analytically and protect yourself emotionally, you become immune to their games. This video will change how you see people forever. Not to make you paranoid, but to make you protected. Because as the philosopher James Allen once said, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to reflect their inner beliefs. When you change your thoughts about manipulation, you change your ability to resist it. Today, you'll learn to recognize the 7 core signs of dark intelligence. You'll understand the psychology behind each tactic. And most importantly, you'll develop the cold intelligence necessary to protect yourself without losing your humanity. Remember, we're not learning these tactics to use them. We're learning them the way a security expert learns about locks, not to become a thief, but to build better defenses. Drop this affirmation in the comments. We are smart. Because after this video, you will be. Sign number 1, the emotional void. How they study your feelings. Picture this. You're having the biggest fight of your relationship. Your voice is shaking. Your heart is pounding. Tears are streaming down your face. You're feeling everything intensely. And them? They're sitting there like they're watching a documentary. Calm. Collected. Almost fascinated. This isn't emotional maturity. This is calculated emotional disconnection. While you're drowning in emotion, they're collecting data. Your anger becomes their roadmap to your triggers. Your sadness reveals your vulnerabilities. Your excitement shows them what you value most. They don't suppress their feelings. They've weaponized the absence of them. They watch how your voice changes when you're hurt. They notice which words make you defensive and which ones make you apologize. They catalog your emotional patterns like a scientist studying lab rats. Every reaction you have is being filed away for future use. This is why they stay unnaturally calm during conflicts that would make most people at least slightly reactive. They're not Zen masters. They're emotional predators. Humans are wired to mirror emotions. When someone yells, we get defensive. When someone cries, we want to comfort. When someone is calm, we try to match that energy. It's called emotional contagion, and it's completely normal. But people with dark intelligence exploit this natural tendency. They stay cold not because they're in control of themselves, but because your emotional state gives them control over you. The more emotional you become, the more power they gain. They understand that emotional people make predictable decisions. Angry people can be goaded into mistakes. Sad people can be manipulated through false comfort. Excited people reveal their plans too early. Red flags to watch for: the documentary effect. They watch your emotional breakdowns with what feels like clinical interest rather than human concern. Selective empathy. They understand emotions perfectly when it benefits them, but become confused when you need genuine support. The trigger museum. They remember exactly which topics upset you, and these topics mysteriously keep appearing in conversations. Emotional archaeology. They dig for your emotional responses through seemingly innocent questions. The calm that chills. Their composure during your distress feels calculated rather than comforting. Your cold intelligence response. This is where you develop emotional armor. Cold intelligence means responding with analytical clarity instead of reactive emotion. Don't let their darkness make you more emotional. That's exactly what they want. Instead, recognize the pattern. When someone stays unnaturally calm while pushing your buttons, step back mentally. Control your emotional output. Don't give them the data they're fishing for. Match their analytical energy. If they want to play chess, learn chess. Trust your gut. If someone's emotional responses feel off, they probably are. Remember, genuine people have genuine reactions. When someone consistently seems to be studying your emotions, rather than sharing in them, you're not dealing with evolved emotional intelligence. You're dealing with something much more dangerous. Sign number 2. The information trap. How they turn your honesty against you. You thought you were building trust. You shared your childhood trauma, your insecurities, your dreams. You were being vulnerable, authentic, real. And they listened so intently, asked such thoughtful questions, made you feel so understood. Months later, you realize every piece of information you shared has been weaponized against you. People with dark intelligence are expert information miners. They don't just listen to your words, they're listening for your psychological blueprint. Every story you tell reveals your fears, your values, your weak points, and your pressure points. That childhood story about feeling abandoned, they've filed that under abandonment triggers. That dream you shared about starting your own business, they know exactly how to make you doubt your capabilities. That insecurity about your appearance, they've catalogued it for future use. They ask questions that seem caring, but are actually strategic. What's your biggest fear sounds like intimacy. It's actually intelligence gathering. Tell me about your worst relationship sounds like bonding. It's actually studying your patterns. This tactic works because humans are wired for reciprocal vulnerability. When someone opens up to us, we naturally want to open up back. It feels like trust building. It feels like connection. But while you're building a relationship, they're building a database. They understand that information is power, and they're patient enough to collect it slowly, naturally, without raising suspicion. The most insidious part, they often share carefully selected information about themselves to make the exchange feel equal. But their revelations are strategic, chosen to make you trust them more while revealing nothing that could be used against them. Red flags to watch for: the gentle interrogator. They ask deeply personal questions very early in the relationship. The memory bank. They remember details about your vulnerabilities with suspicious accuracy. Strategic sharing. They reveal personal information that seems intimate but is actually designed to extract more from you. The callback. Information you shared months ago suddenly appears in arguments or manipulative scenarios. Emotional archaeology. They keep digging into your past, always under the guise of wanting to understand you better. Your cold intelligence response. Information control is one of your most powerful defenses. Practice graduated disclosure. Share information slowly, as trust is actually earned through actions, not words. Monitor the reciprocity. Are they sharing equally vulnerable information, or just enough to keep you talking? Trust your comfort level. If you feel like you're sharing too much too fast, you probably are. Keep some things private. You don't owe anyone your entire history. Watch how they use information. Pay attention to whether your vulnerabilities ever get used against you. Your past, your fears, and your dreams are not public property. Share them with people who have proven they'll protect them, not just people who ask for them. Sign number 3, the silence weapon. How they use quiet to control you. Have you ever been in an argument where the other person just stops talking? Not because the conversation is over, but because they know their silence will make you uncomfortable enough to fill the void. And when you do fill it, you end up apologizing, explaining, or giving them exactly what they wanted. Welcome to the silence weapon. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with silence in tense situations. We interpret it as rejection, anger, or disapproval. So we rush to fill it, often with confessions, apologies, or concessions we never intended to make. People with dark intelligence understand this psychological pressure. They use silence like a scalpel, precise, deliberate, and devastatingly effective. They're not giving you the silent treatment out of immaturity. They're creating psychological pressure that forces you to act. When they go quiet after you set a boundary, they're betting you'll backtrack. When they don't respond to your question, they're training you to rephrase it in a way that gives them more power. When they withdraw after you disagree with them, they're conditioning you to avoid disagreeing in the future. Silence creates what psychologists call social pain. Our brains literally interpret being ignored the same way they interpret physical pain. It activates our fight or flight response and triggers our deepest fears about abandonment and rejection. This makes silence incredibly powerful as a manipulation tool. The psychological impact is devastating because they're not just manipulating your feelings, they're manipulating your reality. When someone mirrors you perfectly and then changes, you start questioning your own judgment, your own perceptions, even your own sanity. Red flags to watch for: the perfect match syndrome. They seem almost too perfectly suited to your needs and desires. Opinion echoing. They rarely express original opinions that differ from yours, especially early in the relationship. History holes. Their past interests and values seem suspiciously aligned with yours, but they can't provide many specific details. The personality shift. Once you're committed, they start expressing completely different opinions and preferences. The adaptable ethics. Their moral positions seem to change based on what you want to hear. Your cold intelligence response. Genuine compatibility takes time to discover and involves healthy differences. Look for authentic disagreement. Healthy people have their own opinions and aren't afraid to express them respectfully. Ask specific questions. Someone genuinely passionate about something can talk about it in detail. Notice the timeline. Be suspicious of anyone who seems perfect right away. Value consistency. Pay attention to whether their values remain stable over time. Appreciate differences. Real relationships involve learning from each other's differences, not just confirming each other's biases. Remember, someone who's perfect for you from day one is probably performing perfection, not being authentic. Real soulmates are discovered, not designed. Sign number 5, the guilt machine. How they make everything your fault. No matter what happens, somehow you're always the one apologizing. When they're late, you feel guilty for being upset about it. When they break a promise, you find yourself making excuses for them. When they hurt your feelings, you end up comforting them about how bad they feel for hurting you. You've become trapped in the guilt machine. People with dark intelligence are masters at flipping the script. They take situations where they're clearly at fault and somehow make you feel responsible. They don't take accountability, they redistribute it to you. This isn't happening by accident. They understand that guilt is one of the most powerful emotional motivators. Guilty people work harder to make things right. Guilty people accept less and give more. Guilty people don't enforce boundaries because they feel like they don't deserve to have them. They use phrases like, "You're being too sensitive, I was just joking," "You always take things the wrong way," or, "I didn't mean it like that." Notice how all of these statements make their behavior your problem to solve. Guilt manipulation works because most good-hearted people have a strong desire to be fair and reasonable. We don't want to be the bad guy in any situation. We want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Dark, intelligent individuals exploit this goodness. They know that if they can make you feel like you're overreacting, being unreasonable, or misunderstanding them, you'll back down from legitimate complaints and justified anger. The most insidious part is how it compounds over time. The more you accept blame that isn't yours, the more you start to believe you're actually the problem. Your self-trust erodes, and you become increasingly dependent on their version of reality. Red flags to watch for: the apology imbalance. You find yourself apologizing constantly while they rarely take responsibility. Reality revision. They reframe situations to make their bad behavior your fault. The victim flip. When you're hurt, they somehow become the injured party. Historical editing. They change details of past events to support their narrative. The sensitivity card. They regularly tell you you're too sensitive or overreacting. Your cold intelligence response. Stop accepting responsibility for other people's choices and behavior. Trust your memory. Keep a journal if necessary to maintain your grip on reality. Don't apologize for having feelings. Your emotional responses to mistreatment are valid. Practice the phrase, "That's not my responsibility." Maintain your boundaries. Don't negotiate your standards because someone makes you feel guilty. Seek external validation. Talk to trusted friends who can confirm your version of events. Remember, you're not responsible for other people's emotions, actions, or consequences. You're only responsible for your own. Sign number 6, the future promise. How they control you with someday. They're going to change. They're going to treat you better. They're going to follow through on their commitments. They're going to become the person you need them to be. Just not today. Not this week. Not this month. But someday. They promise. And you keep waiting for someday to arrive. Future promising is one of the most effective long-term manipulation tactics. It gives you just enough hope to stay while ensuring you never actually get what you need. They dangle the carrot of change, improvement, or commitment just far enough in front of you that you keep chasing it. They make these promises specifically during moments when you're considering leaving or when you've expressed serious dissatisfaction. The promise is perfectly timed to reset your expectations and buy them more time to continue their current behavior. The promises are often vague enough to be interpreted generously, but specific enough to feel real. I'll work on my communication. Things will be different once I'm less stressed. I know I need to change, and I will. This works because humans are naturally optimistic and hopeful, especially when it comes to people we care about. We want to believe people can change, and we want to be part of that positive transformation. Future promising also exploits what psychologists call the sunk cost fallacy. The more time, energy, and emotion you've invested in someone, the harder it becomes to walk away. The promise of future improvement makes it feel like all that investment is about to pay off. The cruelest part is that they often do make small, temporary changes right after making these promises. This creates just enough evidence to keep you believing while ensuring the fundamental dynamic never actually shifts. Red flags to watch for: the timing pattern. Promises of change always come right when you're about to give up. Vague commitments. They promise to work on things or do better without specific actions or timelines. The reset button. Every promise erases the history of previous broken promises. Conditional change. Their improvement depends on you changing something first. The temporary fix. They make just enough effort to keep you hopeful, then revert to old patterns. Your cold intelligence response. Judge people by their consistent actions, not their periodic promises. Set concrete timelines. If they promise change, establish specific deadlines and measurable behaviors. Don't reset the scoreboard. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. Look for patterns. Are they making the same promises they made 6 months ago? Require action before trust. Don't believe promises, believe sustained behavioral change. Protect your time. Don't spend years waiting for someone to become who they could be. Remember, people who genuinely want to change don't just promise it. They start doing it immediately, consistently, and without conditions. Sign number 7, the reality editor. How they make you question your own mind. You remember the conversation clearly. They said they would pick you up at 7 p.m. But now they're insisting they said 8 p.m. and they're looking at you like you're crazy for thinking otherwise. You start to doubt yourself. Maybe you did misremember. Maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe you're losing your mind. You're not. You're being gaslighted. Reality editing is perhaps the most dangerous form of dark intelligence because it attacks your fundamental ability to trust your own perceptions. They systematically deny, minimize, or rewrite events to make you question your memory, judgment, and sanity. This isn't about simple disagreements over details. This is about deliberate distortion of reality to maintain control. They'll deny conversations that happened, claim events occurred differently than they did, or insist that your emotional reactions are completely unreasonable. The goal isn't just to win individual arguments. The goal is to make you so uncertain about your own perceptions that you become dependent on their version of reality. Once they've achieved that, they can control your entire understanding of what's happening in your relationship. Memory is more fragile than we like to believe. We naturally second-guess ourselves, especially when someone we trust confidently contradicts our recollection. This self-doubt is normal and healthy in small doses. It keeps us humble and open to correction. But dark, intelligent individuals weaponize this natural uncertainty. They exploit the fact that confident contradiction makes most people question themselves. They understand that if they can make you doubt your memory about small things, you'll eventually doubt your judgment about big things. The psychological impact is devastating. When you can't trust your own perceptions, you lose your ability to recognize mistreatment, enforce boundaries, or make decisions based on your own experiences. Red flags to watch for: confident contradiction. They deny obvious facts with unwavering certainty. Historical revision. Past events keep changing in their retelling. The crazy card. They regularly suggest you're overreacting, misremembering, or being irrational. Isolated incidents. They claim patterns of behavior were just isolated incidents. Evidence dismissal. When you provide proof of their behavior, they explain it away or claim it means something different. Your cold intelligence response. Protect your grip on reality like your life depends on it, because it does. Document everything. Keep records of important conversations and commitments. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Seek external validation. Trusted friends can confirm your version of events. Don't argue about reality. You know what you experienced. Maintain your narrative. Don't let anyone rewrite your history. Remember, someone who genuinely cares about you will not systematically undermine your ability to trust yourself. Reality editing isn't a communication problem, it's psychological warfare. Conclusion. Building your cold intelligence. You now understand the 7 core tactics of dark intelligence. You can recognize emotional disconnection, information mining, silence weapons, mirror tricks, guilt machines, future promising, and reality editing. But knowledge alone isn't protection. You need to develop your own cold intelligence. Cold intelligence isn't about becoming emotionless or manipulative yourself. It's about developing the analytical clarity to see situations objectively, the emotional strength to maintain your boundaries, and the wisdom to distinguish between people who deserve your trust and people who exploit it. Remember what James Allen understood. The outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to reflect their inner beliefs. When you change your thoughts about manipulation, you change your power to resist it. This isn't about becoming paranoid or suspicious of everyone. It's about becoming smart enough to recognize the difference between genuine connection and calculated control. It's about protecting your emotional energy for people who truly deserve it. Your cold intelligence is your shield. It protects you from predators while allowing you to remain open to authentic relationships. It keeps you safe without making you cynical. It makes you powerful without making you cruel. The people who try to manipulate you are counting on your naivety, your good heart, and your desire to see the best in others. But now you see them clearly. Now you understand their tactics. Now you know how to protect yourself. You are no longer an easy target. You are no longer naive. You are no longer defenseless. You are smart. You are protected. You are free. If this video opened your eyes to manipulation you didn't know you were experiencing, hit that like button. If you want more content about protecting yourself from psychological manipulation, subscribe and ring the notification bell. And remember to drop that affirmation in the comments. We are smart. Because now finally you truly are. Stay cold. Stay intelligent. Stay protected.